Hello. Obviously, this is the Pilot Review Show. This is just a couple days before Star Trek Las Vegas. I am not at my home. I got to thank Timber and Chris here for taking lead of things here and whatnot. But anyways, I'm SARoss. I'm joining here just for the couple minutes here. I don't know to be taking off here, but I want to introduce everyone. We got the normal crew out here as typical. We got Timberwolf here. Go and say hi, sir.
How's it going?
And then joining us as normal, we got TeacherKirby over there.
Howdy, folks. How's it going?
And as also joining us is our Bug Hunter, Chris, with lots of paperwork for him.
It's admin, folks.
So today, I mean, obviously we got a lot to go on. There's a lot of there's actually only a few blog articles that's come out from Star Trek Online this week, but I know Timber's been working on.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Timber and Teacher's been working on getting a few other things to discuss and go over on this show here. I'm going to end up missing most of it, because like I said, I want to get back to driving so I can get to a couple places on time and whatnot. I hope you guys have a great and awesome show and have a great and awesome day. Like I said, we'll see you at Star Trek Las Vegas. That's just a couple days away. Tuesday it starts.
Yes.
So we'll be there. I'll be there.
Well, maybe.
Timber will be there.
Sorry.
You're going to be there what, on Wednesday, Teacher?
I'm gonna be there Wednesday evening.
Okay.
I'll arrive at about 4 something local time, meaning Vegas time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Should be lots of fun.
Yes.
Nonetheless. But
yes.
yeah, so we got a lot
I've already
to go
got
on.
a date. I've already got a date with Luke Critter for the Friday night drink party. I'm not sure what that means, but I'll figure it out. And yeah, not sure exactly what that is, but we will figure it out. So yeah.
Methinks
Well,
booze
as long as
is
it's not the
involved.
SNR drinking game on
And
Friday.
I think so.
As long as it's not the SNR drinking
I
game
think
on
there's
Friday,
drinking
I'll be
involved.
good.
Who said scotch? Someone said scotch.
I don't know, but I'm gonna have my chocolate martini, and all will be good.
Oh, good
I'm
lord.
just going to be there.
I'll be wearing
I'll
my
just
official
probably be
Luke
there.
Critter T-shirt. I will probably be wearing my official Luke Critter T-shirt because you know you gotta.
Hey, no one's giving me one of those. I don't have one.
Well, you got to pay about
Oh,
2
I had
million
to pay for it.
dilithium.
Yes.
Because that's the dill sync. So you got to pay the 2 million dilithium. It's about 1 million fleet credits and 1 billion EC. You got to remember that. Plus 4 T6 starships. And your
crap.
soul. And your soul. You got to pay your soul.
I think I've paid that and then some if you take all the things I've done in the past in this game.
He also
Well, that doesn't
forgot
count.
the...
That
Yeah,
was
and
before
see, I got
the 12.1 patch.
Yes, that was before. And
Well,
I got
if it
one
was
for me
since
and
12
one for Poe.
Yeah, he also
See, if it
forgot the
was
blood
since
of a goat and the
12.1
sacrifice
patch,
of a
I've done
virgin.
that.
Yeah.
There's some things I'm not willing to sacrifice there, okay?
No, it actually says Luke Critter, and then I paid 2 million dilithium for this shirt.
That's funny.
I swear to God, it is a real thing.
Scott,
Yeah,
how long
funny.
can you stay? Because we don't want to keep you while you're driving. We want to make sure you get there safe.
I know,
Oh,
right?
I'm pulled over right now, so it's not like I'm driving right this very second, so...
I'm gonna say maybe the first article he can stay for.
Well, then let's dive right into this because I
That-
love this idea. This is done by the Green
Yes.
Dragon on Twitter, and his idea for the dilithium store is expanding what can be put in there. Since we've had the Lobi batteries put in there recently, and we've had these new uniforms, his
Yes.
idea expands to where, if I remember correctly, we have a 1 million dilithium option for the old Tier 5 event ships, your Ryzian ships, your Breen ships, and for 1.5 million dilithium, you have the old Tier 6s, the Nandys, and the Sarthian, and he lowered the price of the
Yes.
the price of the new uniforms they put
The
out
new
to
uniforms.
about 200 to 250k dilithium, since they are character unlocks. Now, personally, I love
Yeah.
this idea. I absolutely love this idea. I'm looking at it right now. The prices make sense. It gives an option that pretty much, for the casual player, that's about 1 year's worth of dilithium, you know, barring any kind of major expenses, that they can get an event ship they missed, even if they weren't around for the event. I mean, what do you guys think? I think it's a great
Right.
idea.
I think it is a much better. This was actually in answer to Cryptic putting in the 22nd Century Mako uniform for 2 million dill. The Wrath of Khan things for 2 of them were for 1.5 million, and then the last one, I believe it's the jacket, was for 1 million. And so now I understand Cryptic's trying to do a dilithium sink, pull some dilithium out of the game, and in turn bring the dill to Zen price down, which I get, and it's not a bad thing. But I think that what Green Dragon suggests here, putting some old emotes like the air guitar, the jester emote, which currently there's no way of getting, putting those things back in at 50,000 dilithium each is not a bad idea. Some of the things like the crystalline shard pet from some of the old crystalline entity things, the Zephram Cochrane shotgun, for example. Those things that people ask for on a regular basis, and I think this is a very good idea and much more. I think the prices are much more in line with what players, while they may think it's high, they are willing to pay.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, I've seen so many people complaining about the cost of the uniforms and the fact that they're just a simple character unlocked versus the account, and that's one of the biggest things when it comes down to it. It is just there to pull dilithium out of the game, and that factor. And there's many people that's willing to do it, but the biggest thing that we have to point out is these uniforms are not required for the game.
They're not, and I mean, I've talked to quite a few people. I've been watching a lot of the chats that I'm in, and I'm hearing nothing but, yeah, I like Space Barbie, but I'm not going to pay that much. And that's pretty much the same thing I've heard from everyone I've talked to, everyone I've shown that article to. From Reddit says, I think that's much better. That's, much more in line with what I'd be willing to do. I mean, it would be hard, but I'd be willing to pay, $1.5 million to be able to get the Kabali Samsung. I mean, I would do it because I didn't get the Kabali cruiser. I would pay for it,
Well,
So-
that was us losing Scott. So, Chris, what do you think about all this?
Well, for a while now, I know all three of us have gone back and forth. There's been some talk, with some of the devs, and the big issue they've struggled with is a way to implement these ships and bring them back in a way that is fair to the people that already had them, yet also allow the people that never had a chance or they missed them for whatever reason to get it. And this, so far, seems to be the best idea that I've seen. Personally, I would have maybe considered a low-buy route for some of these ships, but the dilithium is a lot better option.
Well, I mean, at 1.5 million dilithium, or even 1 million, depending on the rate that some people, because some people don't even get 8k dilithium a day. They don't have that kind of time. So 1 million or 1.5 million, that could take them a year. Well, that's a once a year unlock for them.
Indeed.
And for some of the higher level players, maybe that's only going to be if you're saving up 6 months or 5 months or whatever the case may be. You're willing to spend $10-20 off your check, your paycheck 1 week, and you can get it in 2 weeks, that kind of thing. So for the high-end players, they can get all the ships they missed in, a couple of months. But for the high-end player, every year, instead of being able to get one summer event ship, one winter event, and then depending on the anniversary, one anniversary ship, they can technically get a fourth ship from the past they missed. And we're not just talking about recent things like the Breen ships. We're talking about they could go all the way back to the first winter event, which I was told one of the first winter event ships was actually the Jem'Hadar attack vessel. Now, that's what I was told. I wasn't around at the time. But they could go all the way back to the first anniversary events. The Dyson Science Destroyer was an anniversary event vessel. The Odyssey, the first Odyssey was. So you could be unlocking all of those for players that, they're seeing this ship that's either 200,000 fleet credits, or for the Dyson Science Destroyer, it's 600 Lobi. Well, now it's a 1 million dilithium unlock.
Right.
So it's a little bit easier for them to get. At at the same time, this is also a way they could implement previous Crystalline and Mirror Universe event items, like the Zephram Cochrane shotgun, or the Crystalline shard that we just got that's a console. They could implement that. Even the Crystalline torpedo. You implement that with maybe a 400,000 dilithium price, it'll take a while. But that makes it where any player coming into the game can access that particular ability, console, whatever the case may be.
And I think the other thing here is that by making it, old ships that people talk about and it was last year's summer event ship. Well, I wasn't here last summer, I can't get it. That kind of stuff. By making it these old ships that older players talk about, like the Nandy was a really good ship and players still talk about it, still recommend it for things and whatnot. Newer players want to get these ships and they go, oh, I can't get it. And they're disappointed. This gives them a way to get it. So it's much more motivating than a costume.
I mean, it's not just the newer players. I mean, I'll use myself as an example.
Right.
When I first came to this game, I was only a few months in when the Ryzian event happened for the luxury cruiser. I'd completely missed the destroyer, whatever the case may be. And during that summer, my computer did not work, so I did not get a chance at all for the Ryzian luxury cruiser. Well, then the following year, they did the one ship, 1 year you can't get the previous ones, that kind of thing. I was able to get that winter event. I was able to get 2 of the 3 starships. I got the, I believe it was the Sarthian that year, and I got the Chelgret. I never got the Raider. So it's one of those things, like, even I've missed starships. And since I didn't come in, in the very beginning, I missed out on the Science Destroyer. I missed out on the first Odyssey class. Those kind of things. For me, even though I might not have the most optimal build for them, I wouldn't mind being able to have a different way of earning them. Like, I could get a Science Destroyer from the Lobby store. Yeah. But at the same time, there was an event version. And maybe it's... they could limit it in some way, I don't know. But it would be nice for, especially with console release, because they have to have a way for console release as well to get the same goodies we've had for 7 years. Given a better playing field for these new players. Green Dragon, I think, has had the best idea so far, because it's still a dilithium dump. I mean, you're still looking at 1 million dilithium per ship. But if you're a brand new player, or even a return player, that's 1 million per ship. That can add up quickly, very quickly.
Yes, it can.
So, I mean, I can perfectly agree with what he's done here. He's got a great map. We have it in the show notes. We'll make for sure that we can put it into the description on YouTube. But it's a great article, and I fully support it. And if there's a petition going around to sign it to get this to Cryptic, I will sign it. So let's move right along.
Yeah, definitely.
Our next blog is the blog article of the story so far, where they're describing the story in Star Trek Online, and it's a beautifully well-written article. I was actually able to talk to 2 of the content designers that have helped make this content what it is, and they were talking about the blogs that have been done as far as the stories and the dialogue and everything. So they're describing everything that comes all the way up to the temporal war that we're dealing with right now in the story so far, part 2. And I gotta say, once again, it's great writing describing what we've been through, bringing players that are brand new to the game what we've been through over the past several years and what we've had to do and accomplish. It's just a great... It's something, you can read it in about 10 minutes, but it's a good story. Especially when you're reading it back to back. It's like, really? We did all of this? Are you kidding me? Because it doesn't seem like that, especially when our temporal tunes. And I know Chris and Kirby and Scott can attest to this. When you're playing your temporal tunes, you're playing through the whole story arc. The entire story arc for everything that's been done. And then at the end, you realize, wow, we've gone through all of this in a story. It's quite a lot to take in if you look at it not from the chase to level 60 and gearing out your tune and all of that, but if you look at it from a story perspective, in more or less, quote-unquote, a year and some change of story, we've gone through some shit. And it's been rough.
Yeah, we have. I mean, it's been really... it's really interesting to see how robust the story is as you play through it again. And since I'm doing the full playthrough, one of the things I'm doing is I'm taking the time to stop and read everything, all the storylines, everything my bridge officers say, everything that's not voiced by voice actors, and it's very interesting to just see how much is actually there.
It's a good read, and we've got another one that's the same way. We've got No Profit But the Name, another blog, where basically it's describing the Battle of Procyon 5, a Deimos destroyer that apparently destroys the Defiant C, but then has to face the Enterprise J and loses, then goes through a nice little temporal jump, and the ending is a little curious because I feel it can be taken as they were technically fighting for us in some regard, because they're perfectly okay with a Nakul wearing a Federation uniform, captaining a Wells class, and that they're home. That everything worked out for them, and they could care less what happened to the faction that they fought for. They made it home, they could care less who won in the end.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing was that their star had been repaired.
And Chris, don't be shy, speak up.
So yeah.
Well, to me, this actually gives me some ideas as to where they may be going with that. If you remember, one of the big key elements that even started the Temporal Cold War in the first place was people messing with the time stream. This could be some kind of reference to the Star Trek Enterprise episode, if you remember, where it shows Daniels and the entire time stream resetting, everything getting resolved. And it adds, to me, an interesting story twist, too, because when you think about it, the entire time, had the temporal manipulation not happened, the Temporal Cold War never would have happened. Therefore, the need for the Nakul to do all of whatever it is they were doing would have never came into play.
And same with
I think it's
our
going to even
Crenum
go
guy, too.
So it kind of renders the entire war unnecessary.
I think it's going to go even one step further, though, and go back to somehow their star was never attacked.
Well, I think that
And
with
so
that
they
part,
ended up
the
developing
Tholians
friendly
are gonna
relations.
the Tholians are going to finally realize, once the Nakul realize what happens and the timeline gets fixed, that it was really the Nakul and the Tholians that started all this. They started fighting with one another. And the Tholians were quite adamant in one of our episodes in the game that if the Galactic Alliance wasn't up to the task of protecting the timeline, that they would do whatever was possible to preserve the timeline. Well, then they probably realized at some point they helped cause the chaos that started it all. So they would have to go back and undo the damage they themselves did when it comes to the Toxu Thought and fighting the Nakul, because they're the ones that helped with the Nakul fighting each other constantly over the centuries. They're the ones that caused all the damage, in some regard.
Let's also not forget the Vorgons and what role they may play in this as well, because if you remember the episode, that was one of the key things, was in order to escape with the Toxu Tat, he had to go back in time to the 22nd century, hide it from the Vorgons. So, it raises a lot of questions.
Yeah. It's going to be nice how they put a bow on this. So those are up, those are ready for you to read. Now let's move on to something that, we all have put money into this weekend, and I'm sorry, don't lie out there, because most people have. I know for me, my paycheck came last week, so I got another one coming next week, but some people got paid this weekend. It's a key and service sale. So there's going to be more keys on the market, more boxes being opened. You're probably going to see a slight drop in the price of some things, depending on what's getting opened, a slight raise in price on others. I know currently, as of a few hours ago, plasmonic leeches were down to 10 million EC on the exchange.
Yeah.
So,
and I think Chemosite, last time I checked, was down to 7.
Chemosite was down to
keys
7.
Are down at about 5.8.
Well, Chemosite was down to 7.
There.
Subspace Vortex was down to 9. Structural Integrity Collapse was down to 9. Whereas the Romulan Survivor Duty Officer packs were up to 6.1. So it just depends on what's coming out. Interesting note for people out there saving up for Connies. The Connies that I've seen on the exchange today, Constitution classes, I've seen them go for a low of 240 million EC. So those prices are probably going to drop a little bit this weekend, maybe go up afterwards. I expect with the way things have been going with these boxes, when they hit the Infinity Lockbox in a few months, it will probably average out to the same price of any other Lockbox Starship, even though it is a choice. I figure Constitution classes are going to average about 150 million by winter, whereas your Talarus and D4s will probably drop from 750 million EC. They'll probably drop to about 450, just because not many people open for those.
It will be interesting to see if they put. It'll be interesting to see if they put the Romulan and Klingon versions as a choice, no matter which faction you open the box on.
No, that's
because right now
I see it right now.
Yeah.
They made it a purpose that it's going to be faction specific. If you're a Fed Toon, you only get the Connie. So I don't see them changing that code for any other reason other than it's faction specific. I mean, nobody on the Fed side asked for a bird of prey with pilot maneuvers. Just like no Romulan has been asking for a Constitution class. They made it faction specific for a purpose. So when it hits the Infinity Lockbox, I see it staying the same way.
Yeah, but if they did make it where, you could choose that ship and then sell it, but not open it if you're a Fed, then it would bring down the price.
Yeah, but once again, if the way their code probably works is whoever opens it, that's what you get. That's all you can open. So they'd have to manipulate the code further, and they're not going to do that. It works the way it is. They're not going to manipulate that.
Yeah.
So. That's what I'm saying. The bird of prey will probably be 450 to 500 million, because not many people open it, but it will at least be in an Infinity Lockbox, which more people open those than Kelvin Timelines. So
yes. Now Chris had a price update.
Got a little bit of a price update for some folks. Right now, the leeches have jumped to about 14 million. They're sitting at about, the cheapest one I see is 13.4. We've got some around 14, so plan about 13, 14 million. Do a quick check on Kima site. Kima site 1 is about not 13, but if I could words hard. 7.3, 7.35, around that area for Chemo 1. So, I think we're starting to see a little bit of the price fluctuations going on. But, not too terribly bad, even still.
Well, like I said, you got services on sale, you've got keys on sale, so if you've got an extra 10, 20 bucks laying around, it's probably best to buy those things now. Worst case scenario, if you're not a box opener, with the price of keys the way they are, you buy $10 worth of keys, that's 57 million EC guaranteed, because they are selling in bunches, they're selling well. So let's move on.
This is also a good time. I was going to say this is also a good time if you're not a lifetime member or a subscriber, to get your energy cap increase and to get your account bank. Those are the two purchases I always tell people. If you're not a paid subscriber, buy those two. Now's the time to do it because it's going to be low price because those are services.
Hey, wake up.
Alright, well, let's move on. We're going to move on to our weekly reward article. Now, obviously, this week, as you saw it up on the screen for a moment there, we've got an increase to our duty officers and everything. You can see from my R&D, it's now up to 10,500 per your beam technology if you're upgrading your R&D. So you've got a bonus there when it comes to duty officer missions and R&D and Admiralty. And right now, currently, we're saving up to get bonus energy credits and gold press latinum. So things are going to be, as we collect fleet credits over the next week, we're unlocking that, which that's going to be nice if you don't have a lot of options for energy credits for saving up, you don't have a lot of time. This is more than likely going to boost energy credits from what you're earning from duty officer missions, from selling items on your just inventory straight to a vendor. So it might not mean a whole lot to a lot of players, but for those players that don't have a lot of options for the exchange, selling off junk to vendors, you're going to get an increase in EC from that. For Gold Plus Latinum, if you're lucky at Dabo, you might want to get this bonus. I mean, after all, Dabo pays for a lot. you got those Dabo girls. So
It
you want to
can
invest in that.
I fit the 200K before. I'm telling you, people, it can happen.
So we've got our patch notes, because there's not much for the weekly article. That's pretty much all it is. So we've got our updates for our patch notes as of this past Thursday. Now, really the only things that they've done for general updates, of course, they added in the uniforms that everybody's complained about. Whoop-de-doo, get over it, they're there. Let's see here. They've done some fixes so that it doesn't interfere with shooter mode on the ground when it comes to loot, media control, and your PvE cooldown windows. So they won't affect shooter mode anymore. So I know that's probably something that's been on the minds of ground combat people for a while now. They've done some fixes to minor instability in Brotherhood of the Sword. One thing that I thought was interesting, Chris, because we didn't get to bug test this. Apparently there was something wrong with destabilized phase array from the Iconian rep, because now they're saying it correctly gives 3-second immunity to damage when it procs. So something tells me it was procking and giving infinite immunities. That's the only reason why they would correctly fix this particular item.
I've heard of a little bit different from the opposite spectrum as well on that one. And that was that in some cases it would proc or not proc at all. They can still get the effect of some of the other stuff that goes along with it, but they weren't getting the actual immunity. So I've heard both sides to that, in all honesty.
So there, you could either had infinite immunity or none. Ooh.
Or it could have flipped you the bird.
Yeah. There's not a lot. They're
I
mainly
prefer
just
the
doing
infinite immunity.
minor fixes here.
Well, too, but
Apparently you were getting Terran reputation weapons from temporal reputation boxes. That's fun. Yeah, I got a Chronoton weapon. Oh, it's Withering Disruptor. Okay.
Yeah.
They fixed our Kumari wing cannons. They can now be upgraded starting at level 50. I know there's been
people, there you go.
I mean, I know people that have been wanting for that to happen. So that's good. They've added things to the Foundry. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. Foundry Roundtable. Please add these resources. I'm just saying. I have been enthralled in the Foundry recently, and I am looking forward to see what they can do with Nakul assets and original series Romulan assets in the Foundry now. So I really want to see what they can do with them. Because so far, just the AEIs, the Alliance Exploration Initiatives.
It looks like these are just NPC groups, so I'm not sure if they've actually put in.
I'll take whatever we can get.
These.
Who cares? Now it's grouped.
Yeah.
Yay. We need Foundry.
Well, that raises a bit of an interesting point. So far, let's say it isn't just the maps yet. Even then, what of temporal manipulations, where they bring people from the past into the future to try to disrupt the time stream?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different ways we can go with just this.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Foundry missions can cover temporal missions that maybe Cryptic is unable to cover during this arc, because they've got their ones that they've picked out that they're going to do this for their storyline, which is eventually going to lead into the next season, next couple of seasons, that kind of thing. They might not cover everything jumping back and forth through time. So this is where, if they keep giving us temporal assets in the Foundry, the people that are really good at Foundry can add these in, and then we can get the stories that we want and still play them. And they might be coded differently than what a normal story mission is, but we still get the story. We still get the story writing. And if there's combat, there's combat. If it's just scientific discovery, that we discovered it really back then instead of when we thought, and that kind of thing. Open those options up. We've already seen great stories when it came to the Mirror Universe Invasion, when it came to the Iconian War. I cannot harp enough on the attack on Ryza by the Iconians. I'm sorry, I can't. So give us those temporal options. I know Foundry, those Foundry authors, Pax Federica, and Dragon's Brethren, and all those guys, they would love to have those updates. So far, it looks like the only known issues that they're writing about is the original series Gorn outfit does not unlock when completing Caleb 4. Apparently, all of our cat people are missing their helmets and hats categories. And apparently our border skew long jacket clips through legs. That's funny. Did not know, you know. That's just funny. I mean, apparently our cats need hats. Not unlike Cat in the Hat.
Yes, they do.
Cat in the
Just
hat on
slightly
the
different.
map.
That's right.
There would be a cat in the hat.
Well, let's move on
I like
to
that.
budget builds corner. Now, you know, I do head that particular corner up, and I don't have any coming out
Yes, sir.
right now. I have been working on ship reviews, more or less, and they've been more on the higher end. I've been trying to put builds out when I can so that people can look at the SEO Academy build. I recently, just today, did the Kronos Dreadnought. Beautiful ship, amazing vessel. But we are going to start once I get the final one out, which is going to be the Ouroboros, the Raider. Once I get that review out, I can start working on budget builds. We're going to start with the Constitution class. Now you're thinking, well, I'm paying so much money for it. Well, here's the thing. The way I do my budget builds is you're going to find a way to afford it. But what might happen is you use everything you have to buy the ship. What do you do then? Can you make it work on a 10-day budget? Because I try to keep it at 10 days. We're going to do a themed budget build on the Constitution class. We're going to get retrofit phasers. We're going to do a budget build there. We're going to work with some of our ships that we've bought through Zen. And then we're going to go back to some of the free ships. We're going to cover some more Fed ships. We're going to try and cover at least 1 or 2 Klingon ships. And quite honestly, I'm working with Chris. On Chris's channel, on Darkblade's channel, we're going to do budget tanking builds. He's already started. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to have him enter into the mix with Budget Builds Corner. And he's going to start doing budget tanking builds and highlight those when he's able to make them and get the videos where they're working. So we're going to see those as well. And then we're going to phase in TeacherKirby and we're going to start doing budget science builds. Because yes, I did a budget science build and it worked.
Yes.
But, as we all know, science is not my speciality. Just like tanking isn't my speciality. So we're going to start with Chris, get a couple of his builds out there, because I really want to see what he can do with a free Sovereign and some of these new consoles that we've gotten with Agency yesterday from the missions. Then we're going to move into science, and then we're just going to start having fun. Just, you know, if you have a request, you have a ship, you don't know how it works, or, you know, you have just no idea what you can do on a budget. Like I said, we're trying to do 10-day budgets. Which can you earn in 10 days, and how can you well spend that to make it work? Once we get through just the basics, we get as many of the free ships done as possible, we get the different aspects going. If you have a request, if you have a starship that you think could do better, but you don't have a lot of currency, you don't have a lot to work with, submit what you got. And what we'll do is we'll put her through the ringer for whatever you want. If you want heavy science, you want tanking, you want damage output, you want a nice mix of it all, jack of all trades, whatever the case may be. We'll work with you to get that done. We'll highlight it in the budget builds corner. And if you're able to, we'll bring you on to TeamSpeak during the show. And we can talk through to you live about the build. And we can even go so far as to do an ISA with you and see how you're piloting, how you're positioned as you run. We can give you piloting and positioning advice. We can help you with activating abilities. That way you're getting the idea of, yes, we're able to do it, but this is how we're doing it. This is where we're positioned at this moment, and this is what we're activating, to give you an idea of how the budget build will work once you have it. So just bear with us as we get through Star Trek Las Vegas and we get some of these last things out, and start submitting your ideas. If we can help you, we will. And we can do it on a budget for the Budget Builds Corner, or we can take it as high as you want to take it. So be mindful of that. Submit if you need to. You can submit it to the Pilot Review Show. You can submit it on Facebook to either Scott Ross or myself, or Chris, or TeacherKirby, whoever you can find. Just find a way to get it to us, and we'll work with you on it. Now,
Definitely.
the Buggy Corner with Chris. I want to hear from you, Chris, because honestly you haven't spoken much. So me and Kirby are going to shut the hell up, and you are going to speak. So can go on with the Buggy Corner.
Okay, got a few interesting ones. Some of them kind of minor, some of them kind of big. One of the minor ones, which is kind of one of my pet peeves, mainly because immersion. There's some people reporting that the bridge officers are still not sitting correctly on the chairs, and one of these screenshots that can actually be viewed in the public bug forum, the chair is there, the bridge officer is about 3 feet forward, and unless they are Q, or partly Q, that should not be possible.
Indeed.
Lordy.
Yeah, it's hilarious. There's
Wow.
this one I'm going to have to do a little bit of testing for. There's a few folks reporting that the Nimbus 3 wrapper fought the good fight is broken. So if you're having issues with that, then please by all means submit some bug reports for us to test that. Let us know when you're seeing it, all that good stuff. Then spin the wheel. A few people are reporting that they can't even select the mission or replay it. That's obviously very game-breaking. And
Yeah.
I see that this kind of, I think, went away for a couple of the original people, but has since resurfaced. So if you're seeing this, please let me know. Let me know if there's any error codes, anything at all you're seeing like that. Then the last thing, which is one of the major things, and is actually affecting me and my work at the moment, if you've logged onto the forums and you've attempted to access certain things, you may have noticed that some of the forums will appear to be blank. This is an issue with vanilla, as confirmed by Trendy, apparently on Twitter whenever we originally reported it to her. So they at least are aware of it. They are trying to get everything fixed. It may take them a little bit, so please kind of be patient with that and everything. I know it's annoying. It's definitely slowing me down a bit, but they are working on it and it will get resolved. I can definitely assure you of that, because it's too important for them not to be able to have access to this stuff. So that's about all I've got bug-wise this week, and I'm going to pass it back to you guys.
Alright, well, just know out there that we've got quite a bit more that are more mechanically based when it comes to the game mechanics. We can't reveal them until after they have been submitted and they've been worked on by the devs. There are some that we have found that could be considered game breaking, or they are detrimental to what you're using and need to be fixed for the better. But we just simply cannot, because of the NDAs that Chris is currently under when it comes to being a bug hunter. So just because this is what he's reported, it does not mean this is all that's on his plate. Trust me, I piss him off every week with at least 3.
Oh yeah.
That only one of them he
Didn't
can
I piss
report
him
on the
off
show.
last week?
I'm not sure.
Didn't
But-
I piss him off last week?
Yeah, you did.
But
That
the
big
thing
one.
is, he can't report them all.
Yeah.
So if you don't hear about it here, it's not that it hasn't been looked at, it hasn't been worked on. It's simply he's under contract to not say a word.
Well,
So just
I
be
could
mindful.
tell you, but then Trendy's gonna lizard slap me upside the head, and well, that wouldn't be fun.
Well, not lizard slap. If you didn't look at Luke Critter's recent interview with her, she's a raptor. So I'd be careful. She might eat your face.
Yes,
Anyway.
that is true. That is true.
Let's move
Yeah, she
on
might.
to Teacher's Corner, and I saw something interesting about what you're doing this week. So take it away, Teacher.
Yes. I'm doing sensor analysis. You know, this actually comes with an interesting story. I was on TeamSpeak with the STO Continuum guys, and one of the guys goes, "You know, I didn't know how to use sensor analysis till I saw you using it in one of your playthrough videos. I couldn't understand how you guys got these, why you were saying sensor analysis was so great, because it wasn't doing crap for me." And then he says, "I had it in my spam bar." And I just facepalmed. And I was like, oh, yeah, that explains it.
I think
Totally
we've all done
get
that
why.
once or twice in our
Yep.
lifetime.
Because sensor analysis is a toggle ability. So, yeah. Love you, Steve. So I think that's going to be the next Teacher's Corner. So, yeah. So, sensor analysis, here's your tip for the day. Sensor analysis is a toggle. And so I go over how to use it, how to get best results out of it, things like that in the video there.
It's very enlightening stuff, especially for someone who is brand new to the game and they have no idea what that power is. So, like always, we're going to try and get this into the YouTube description. That way people can watch it. I mean, that's all we've really got tonight, guys. Like I said, it's not going to be a long night. We're Scottless today. So this will be up on YouTube here in the next day or so. We've got to put it together with the intro. So
we are scot-free.
I hope you enjoyed tonight, whoever watched live, and like I said, it should be up on YouTube in the next day or so. Give Scott time to relax as he's in Vegas, and just remember that next week we will be broadcasting live from Star Trek Las Vegas, which, going on our time of what time we are broadcasting now, we will be doing it after hours, because I believe the time that we normally broadcast on the East Coast, time that it will be in Vegas, they should be getting close to shutting it down for the night. So
7?
we will probably be, we'll try to either get in maybe an hour early out there because of time constraints, or what we'll probably end up doing is finding somewhere we can get together and do it via mobile, whatever the case may be, and we'll work it out from there. So just be mindful, might be an hour early, might be an hour later. We haven't fully figured it all out, but it will happen.
Watch
and it will
your
be
Twitter.
live. Hey! Shush! Trying to talk to the crowd here. God. Just when you need a woman to actually have something in her mouth, it should be quiet. Anyway.
Hey now.
Until next time, guys, this is the Pilot Review Show, and this is Timberwolf.
And TeacherKirby.
Darkblade.
And Scott, we're thinking of you. We'll sign off for you. Everybody have a good night.
Stay safe, brother.